Hey everybody, it's Scott and Rita again. So our Cosmic Dialog. This is about number 100 something. So we've been at this for a while. Fun.
Yeah.
So and that's what we're going to talk about today is fun. So um, I think we're going to talk about when everything became fun, or when fun returned, or when we realized that wow, now everything is fun. So just that time, what that was like when everything became fun again, when everything was light and joyful. So, what do you remember about the time, Rita?
Oh, it was just such a contrast to what had been, and we were so ready to let go of all things not fun and just totally walk away from that and not feel any need to revisit it whatsoever. So we just stepped into, we could feel the fun coming and were determined to embrace it and be it before we saw evidence of other people doing that. We didn't need anybody to join along. We were just going to be more playful and know that there is a place for that joy and creative comedy and laughter and um, it feels kind of ridiculous to even talk about it because it just is so much a thing all in itself. Um, but what are some of the things that you did as a result of feeling the fun return?
Well, I think I started being a lot lighter when I normal things like the news or turning on the radio, with the news on the radio or news on television became just fuel for laughter. I mean, it was satirical already. We knew that it was satire. We knew that a lot of it was just um, ridiculous already. That made,
Somebody believes this nonsense?
like, what? Oh, and
That was
so it was just,
hilarious.
and then all of a sudden we saw even the newscasters, because it was in this atmosphere. You could see the newscasters kind of reading what they're supposed to read, and then almost breaking apart, laughing themselves. So it was just this wave that kind of started creeping up over people, and we felt it first, and we didn't care. We felt like we felt it first. Maybe other people felt it at the same time. We were in our own world for a while, which was good, and it was just the news became hilarious. Um, Things that were there was still darkness, and there was still death and all these other things that we always had to deal with in the world, but we kind of were able to deal with these things lightly and be able to tell stories again and tell humorous anecdotes and stories about even people who had departed. And it was just wow, this is what it feels like once again to feel joy even when people part, and even when we have bad things that happen to us, because we know we have this huge spirit in ourselves where we can laugh, we can go on. So that was a new part of this when things became fun again, was that added to our resilience as people. It wasn't because we weren't taking things seriously, but it was because we understood that also with that fun we kind of gained a bigger core. Our hearts grew, and so when our hearts grew, that was just an outgrowing of that evolution. So we could cry and laugh almost simultaneously, and it was okay to do that. It was, those things were okay. It was okay to feel things again, but it was even more okay to be genuinely joyful and genuinely laugh when things were funny and ridiculous. instead of getting offended. It was like we couldn't get offended anymore.
Oh, what a relief that was. It was all just this feeling of breathing, being able to, like a restriction being lifted, and or that we lifted off of ourselves, because not everyone was joining in on that relief. And so much just naturally came out. The dam burst, the levee broke, and we just flowed out downriver and watched for people who were on the banks to join us. Um, and that was one of the fun things, is that collaborations became really easy again too. And yeah, the feeling of cooperation and inspiration. And I just felt so, um, it became so obvious of what had been missing for so long. And I had known what was missing, but to just have it return was just like, oh, this is why I felt so sad, because I didn't have this kind of laughter, and I didn't have anyone to share it with, and because everyone was so wrapped up in the programming that had been given to us. And laughing by yourself is good enough, but to have someone join in is a whole different story.
It was like we got a new oxygen.
Mm-hmm.
New oxygen started flowing in, and part of that oxygen had a little laughing gas put in it. So it was, yeah. Even like people who like had ongoing feuds or arguments, in their past, they found ways to like make light of that and actually heal some wounds from the past. And we started doing cosmic dialogues in the past and fixing our past and just saying, well, I don't think I want to believe that story anymore. Here's what I think really should have happened and could have happened, and let's just go back and make this happen. And here's what I'm going to fix in that situation in the past. What do you think? And then we go and talk to our petty little adversaries, that really didn't make a difference now, and we would just get together and say, all right, what do you think we could have done? Let's just go back there right now and let's heal some things and say, okay, we're done with that. This is what really happened. And so it kind of took on our cosmic dialogue, helped some people kind of go back in the past and laugh about the situations that they were totally offended by and held grudges, and they didn't have to have those, and they released them. And that was kind of fun. We kind of laughed along with them, people who wanted to dialogue in the past or dialogue in the future. And like, oh, now that I can laugh, let's go back. Let's go back to this time where it wasn't so, where I was so serious, where I was so offended by somebody and I held a grudge. Oh my gosh, you know. And we just casually said, "Oh, okay, well, let's just talk back. Let's go back there. Let's talk about it. What really could have happened? Let's speak that into being." And so people who had feuds just started laughing together again and found a new way forward out of it. And yeah, it just made us feel like a kids that were grown up. I don't know. It was a little more grown up, but yet it wasn't. Kind of in that little slipstream between childlike, and yet that's what got us through into a place that wasn't so seriously um, polarizing and crazy, hilarious.
Oh, yeah, I've known just incredibly intelligent, logical, silly, playful children. Extreme children who are far more emotionally developed than their parents. So Yeah, we don't have to be the idea of what adults are supposed to be. And that opening that released us from that suppressing of joy, it also opened up the other abilities that had been suppressed by all of that programming. And laughter just became this portal to knowing more of our human ways and opening up the senses to things beyond what is visually or physically in front of us. And spirits love to laugh.
Oh my gosh.
So we got a lot more company then.
And people just decided, I mean, we're seeing this now. I think people are living longer, people are healthier. I mean, and we always knew that like laughter would like help us release cortisol, but how much cortisol can we release and let go of? Oh my gosh, it was just yeah, it was as if a switch happened, and I really liked connecting with spirit, and people were more open. It was like they didn't have this clogged up, like you said, programming or clogged up idea of what our minds and our brains and our intuition could do. They had a dream that was funny and they laughed and laughed and shared it with everyone else, or they had a really serious dream that they believed. And um, we got to start seeing what it was like when people started really releasing judgment and holding those things back, and they would just treat some things like surface wise, like just for what it was. I had this funny dream, and here's what it was, and nobody questioned it, nobody tried to analyze it, but they laughed along with them. That was a big difference. It's like people could just laugh along with you without evaluating,
Yeah.
without trying to filter it or make some sense of something. It was almost like the total opposite. This makes no sense. We're gonna laugh about it. That makes no sense. And like
Right.
just like the government, and that would just cascade. Just like your mother. And it would be that kind of lightness and humor, and or just like you've always been. Me too. And so it was. Um, People just add to it naturally. It wasn't a judgment evaluation or um, yeah, that's what I really like.
hmm And it really highlighted in a good way how much shame we carried and how it was just so easy to let that go when you remove the judgment and allowed the laughter of the nonsensical stuff that we were ashamed of. Oh my gosh. It was extraordinary and ridiculous what we put on ourselves and or carried from what other people put on us. And all of that is just dissolving so rapidly. And oh, thank goodness. And then it just allows for more creativity and more fun and more collaborative, like being around. It's like we all are now freshmen in art school, just going with our creative project, whatever it is, as crazy, as performative, as just yeah, just so many different facets of the human creative spirit is unleashing now.
Without the crazy competition feeling.
Oh yes, thank goodness for that.
Yeah,
Because because it's just so abundant and flowing, there's no reason to compare because we know another thing's coming.
yeah. People are doing like those social media memes of like like there was a big bug that would carry all your suitcase and all your shame, and and then Godzilla's foot coming down and squashing it, things like that. And it was a whole meme of like bugs being squished that carried our burdens and carried our shame, and people were trying to draw the most fascinating bug and the most fascinating suitcases of shame and things like that. So I remember that was just hilarious. So even as crazy as social media can get, but it was kind of like going back to college again when you and I went to art and music school, and it was kind of going back to that too, but without like you said, there's no reason for competition because it was so abundant. You
And
can go
there's no
back.
grades, no
I know.
grading, no critiques.
Oh, thank goodness. Thank goodness. And they allowed laughter, and they allowed mistakes. And sometimes crazy mistakes turned into beautiful things.
And sometimes it's making mistakes was the purpose of it, to make the funniest mistake ever.
Yeah. And even like, oh, you're right. That's what I was doing. So, so even like those kinds of things that we did again. So just to relive that in a different way, really healed the past, but we let go of it. It was easy to let go of too. So we could just transform it now and create.
And when you're laughing all the time, there's really nothing you need to escape into your addictions for. When you're creating and feel alive, you're not going to crawl into your hole of whatever it is you do to numb out the previous pain.
Right, right. And
And
that's
then
what,
so like we had an extra 24 hours in every day.
mm, yeah, sleep became sometimes
And
difficult when you were like laughing and staying up late with all your friends. But that's why you sleep in, you laugh some more. So, yeah, workplaces with bosses with breathing down your neck became a little bit obsolete. So we like that. But companies flourished. People started creating like mad. And those old bosses, they too had to kind of learn how to laugh. And when they did, oh my gosh, unheard of, unheard of innovation, unheard of just brand new ways of being in the world, of these companies, of businesses, of people's creations, of, yeah, it was almost like, well, it was almost a competition, if it were a competition, of to see who could be crazy and zany and who could be the most fun. And it just built upon each other. And then eventually it was like, we can't compete anymore. It's just the next funnest thing leads to the next funnest thing. And so, um, but we'll try. So we'll try to up you on our fun factor. So, fun factor, I like that.
well, I have to admit that talking, like I'm having little waves of embarrassment about talking about all of this fun.
Oh,
Isn't that
well,
weird?
that's dumb.
Well, I think it's about talking about it rather than just doing it.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
That comes next.
yeah. Well, we do it a lot. We had to open the window, talk
Yeah.
about it.
Mm-hmm. Speak it into
Like,
being.
yeah, well, we're just our talk show
Mm,
to talk about it. So
yeah.
fun. All we need.
And, all I had to do was admit it and laugh at it.
I'm a little embarrassed. I'm like, why?
That's stupid.
That's dumb. Yeah. Well, then I'm embarrassed too.
No, I'm more embarrassed.
Okay. Good. Now we can make a great meme for social media. I'm embarrassed. No, you're embarrassed. I'm more embarrassed than you are. And then they laughed.
Okay.
All right. Well, it'll be hard to top this one. So
Nah, easy.
yeah, it'll be better. So okay, till next time. Just laugh,
Okay.
have lots
Yeah.
of fun, because that's the way it's going to be anyway. So
Mhm.
better get on the train rather than it's passing you by, which would be hilarious too. So
Just don't step under it.
also under it. So we'll laugh. So anyway, have a great night. Bye bye.
Bye.